My name is Keegan Donovan.
My name is Brian Donovan, and we are New York Dairy.
So I grew up in LaGrange, which is about 10-15 minutes from here. A friend had a dairy farm that I met in high school, and I kind of took an interest in it. And then, of course, when I met my husband, who was a dairy farmer already, that's kind of how I ended up here.
So growing up, I had no experience with the dairy industry. I just always kind of took it for granted that milk was just there in the store. And as I worked for this fella painting his barn, kind of learned the ins and outs of the industry, how big it was, what it entailed, and it really captivated me. And a couple years later, ended up buying his herd of cows and moving them up here to Dutchess County.
I met Brian and he was just shipping milk. And then, as I kind of came into the fold, I, suggested that maybe we diversify into some direct-to-consumer sales or beef, and that's kind of where Millbrook Beef and Dairy came about.
So a normal day on the dairy farm starts about 4 o'clock. Come down, do the chores, feed the cows, start milking around 4:30, 5 o'clock. Typically, the cows are milked twice a day, cleaned twice a day, and fed twice a day.
So we do our Black Angus beef, pork, we raise chicken, our cheese is made right from our milk here. We offer some other dry goods from local, maple syrup farmers or granola producers. Everything in our farm store is within 15 miles of the store itself. So we work with McGrath Cheese Company. They come here to our farm, 3-4 times a week. They pick up milk and then they take it and they turn it into cheese. We have our own kind of recipes and our own flavors that are just unique to Millbrook Beef and Dairy. And I think that's probably one of the most fun endeavors that we have, is working with him.
The dairy industry in New York is very strong and vibrant, and we're all very passionate about what we do. And if you ever have an opportunity to reach out and talk to somebody like myself or a fellow dairy farmer, please do.
When our milk leaves the farm, we don't necessarily, get to actual meet the individuals that consume that product. It was really cool to have, people kind of come in and say, hey, I had this cheese or I had this product, and, actually sell, as the producer, sell that product to the consumer and then, get to talk about it, which I think is a pretty rare thing.
Not only is it rewarding to interact with the consumer, but it's also interesting to work with the animals, very rewarding. You work outside, and the good days tend to outweigh the bad days here on the dairy farm.
Having gone to school for nursing, I never thought that I would get up every day and work with the soil and work with cows, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And if you have an opportunity and you're interested, I would strongly recommend pursuing it.
I would strongly, encourage somebody to look into the dairy industry, not only as a producer, but also the supporting cast that we work with.
I have 2 young kids, one's 2.5 and one just turned 1. And I couldn't have asked for a better life for them to kind of grow up and see how food is produced.
So I think the dairy industry, the dairy farmer plays a pretty important role, not only in producing a product, but also educating the consumer. So any chance we have, I kind of take it upon myself and really encourage other farmers to educate the consumer.
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, to get that product, that milk in their glass or their cheese on their pizza. There's real people like us and my husband and everybody from the truck driver to the bottler at the plant. It's a really complex process that, all of us are in it because we love it.
My name is Kenny Ramos. I'm a driver at Hudson Valley Fresh, and I'm New York Dairy. Well, originally I grew up in the Bronx, moved up here when I was 9 years old, and I've been here since then. It's so different because the old milkman's a guy who's wearing a white suit and a hat and going door to door, and the day-to-day new milkman is different trucks. We have these beautiful big trucks that help us get everywhere and deliver this product. Back in the day, it wasn't as big. It was all door to door. This is some door to door, schools, hospitals, all areas of Northeast, all the way down to the city. I can go from 150 to 400 cases. We're delivering whole 1%, 2%, skim, half and half, heavy cream, chocolate and whole milk, little 8-ounce, a lot of good variety stuff, especially for schools. Some of my favorite stuff is just the people who we have here. The culture feels like a home again, having the dairy farmers and just seeing everybody here every day. Everyone just happy to be here. That's the environment I wanted. This is a job that is rewarding Some people don't like to go to the gym after work. This feels like you're going to the gym and you're also getting paid to be here. It's a great job, and it's the way, you can work, and it gives you a good culture here to grow. Every day is different. I mean, there's one day where I have schools Monday and Wednesday where I'm going to a hospital, going through the proper entrance. That's the real aspects of the job, is timing you can get there and where to go. I'm here a little earlier. I'm here around 2:30. Come in, get my paperwork, and then go into the cooler and start picking my orders for my customers and make sure everything's all accurate. Load the truck, go do my deliveries, come back, unload. I guess some of the challenges having a specific schedule you're working at now, because before I was doing opening and closing. Here, I'm here early, and so it's definitely a different adjustment. The sleep is definitely a lot different, and staying physically healthy. If you want to do this type of job, if you want to get up early, you want to do a physical labor job, if you want to work on a farm, it's definitely different from the city where it's, all trains and buses, as opposed to, we have it here a little bit, but we have more of like that country, and we have those hills and some pride that we have here for like what we do here is different than what it is in the city. It's cool seeing that process every day, that the milk comes in and it's getting bottled here, and I can see that process and ask questions about like, hey, how does that work? Or where does that come from? Or how do you make that? Like, I never had that. This is like a company that actually takes pride in its milk and their animals, and I think it just shows what we're doing here as not only us as our company, but every other company, how their cattle looks, how, butter is made, how the milk is getting processed and everything. It's gotta get pasteurized, it's gotta go through into bottling and packaging, and then for us to bring it to the stores and say, hey, look, where's that milk come from? It's right in Kingston. It don't get any fresher than that when it's right up the road.
My name is Katie Hines. I am the owner of Zoe's Ice Cream Barn, and I am New York Dairy. So Zoe's opened in 2016, but before that, I grew up on a small farm in Poquag, New York, where my parents raised crops primarily and sheep for a 4-H project. And then when I was a senior in high school, I wanted to figure out what route I was going to go. So I decided to go to the Culinary Institute of America, where I have an associate's in baking and pastry and a bachelor's in hospitality management. And that's kind of where Zoe's formed. Ice cream is something that everybody can enjoy, every age, whether it's somebody, the grandparents bringing, their grandkids in. I always say that a 5-year-old is my best customer, because when they pass by, they say, I want ice cream, I want Zoe's. And it also helps us give back to the local dairy farmers and the local economy. I knew when opening Zoe's that I didn't just want to be your average roadside ice cream, even if it was homemade. I wanted it to be a destination place, a liaison between the farmers and the consumer. So I want them to experience Zoe's more than just having their ice cream. I wanted it to be a place where people can come and learn. I think that dairy is important to New York to keep the open farmland for the local economies and to support the livelihood of the local farmers as well. It's also a healthy, strong product that's readily available to us and good for the environment. I have 4 full-time employees, managers, assistant managers, and a cake decorator. And then I employ mostly high school and college students that are part-time. In the summer, we have up to a staff of 30. It's a lot of kids' first jobs, and I get to teach them about the dairy industry too, because they're the middleman getting asked the questions. So we use all Hudson Valley Fresh dairy products, and then we also have local beef burgers, Rumsburger honey, Sukup maple syrup. Wherever we can buy local, we can. Ice cream in the summer is made 5 days a week. In the winter, we're down to 2 or 3 days a week. And it's all made in a small batch maker, so it's all handmade. Once the cows are milked and it goes to the plant, on day 3, it's coming here to Zoe's, where they're delivering the milk and we're churning it into flavors. We make over 60 flavors. We carry about 20 at any given time, and they just rotate daily. And then it sits in a negative 30-degree freezer for 24 hours. And then it's brought back up to temp, because we obviously can't scoop it at negative 30 degrees. And then it's scooped up front for customers to enjoy. In the summer, I'm making ice cream about 2 out of those 5 days a week. I'm behind the desk about 2 days a week, and I try and make myself available in the front at least 1 day a week. I enjoy the sense of community, whether it's a 5-year-old girl, asking me how many times a day a cow is milked, or, a 40-year-old man talking about the open farmland in Dutchess County. Talking directly with the consumer is one of my favorite things, and just educating the public. My kids love farming. Both my boys have sheep and goats and chickens. So I think it's important for kids to know where their milk comes from, where their food comes from in general. And I think it's important to teach kids that when they're, drinking milk or having the cheese, that they are also supporting somebody that's working hard to maintain that product. I mean, we hear a lot of stories of people who come in and they're like, you know, my great-grandfather owned this farm back in the day and they milked this number of cows. And people always want to tell you those stories and reminisce, even if they're, you know, 3 or 4 generations removed from the farm. It seems to stick in people's head and be important to them to reminisce about things like that. And everybody wants to go back to their farming roots.